Is Airbnb still doable in 2024, and can you make a lot of money from it? If you're thinking about starting an Airbnb, or you have a room in your house, or you want to do arbitrage, whichever route you want to take with this, I would recommend doing a lot of market research. So, for example, if you want to do arbitrage, then where do you want to do it? Or do you already have like a hotel in mind you want to use, or a condo that you're looking at? And if you do, go ahead and go on Airbnb and look at that location, because chances are somebody's already doing at least one in that condo or hotel, whatever you're thinking about doing, that apartment, you're thinking about arbitraging, and go on Airbnb and look, okay, and see, is somebody else already have a unit there? Are they already doing it? If not, how much are they making? Um, and then if you're thinking about doing a room, obviously do the same thing. Look how many like private rooms are available, and look and see how much are they making. And you can also, like, if you want to check their calendar to see if they're booked, then just try to book with them. Like, try to book a month with them and see if to see the dates that it won't let you book, and that tells you how many days basically they have booked out. And in that way you can estimate what is their revenue, not just their revenue, but also like what is their occupancy rates before you even go. So if you are thinking about doing a private room, for example, and you find a house near you, it's also doing a private room, and chances are there are, because Airbnb is just so saturated nowadays. It is so saturated. Okay, but that does not mean it's not doable. Okay, I'm going to get into how you can kind of get over that saturation here in a second, but first I just want to go over how to do the market research before you even do anything, because that's so important. Because if you find out that it's not worth it for you, then you can save yourself a lot of time and trouble before you find out, like after you've already invested, after you've already listed, and after you've already got all your paperwork from the city, after you've already done through all that, and then you find out, hey, nobody's booking. What can I do? Like, I'm trying to save you from that situation, to do the market research first, and that's so important. You cannot skip this step. So again, if you're thinking about doing a room, or if you're doing a house, this applies the same way. Just go and look at people who have like a similar house as you, or a similar situation. Again, if you're just going to do 1 or 2 rooms, so if somebody has a 2-bed 2-bath and you have a 2-bed 2-bath you want to do, look at a house near you. Again, it's not going to apply if there's like a house like an hour away or 30 minutes away. Okay, it makes such a difference to people when they're booking on location. Okay, especially if you're in a city, like, some people want to be near the convention center because they have a convention there. They want to be near the stadium because they came in to watch their son play a game or something. So location matters a lot. So only compare the houses that are near you, okay, within a few miles, preferably. So anyway, so what you want to do is go through the calendar. Basically, you want to see how much they're booked out, and that way you can estimate what they're making and what their occupancy rates are. And then you can calculate that number, because again, your price is going to have to be close to theirs, because if it's too far over, this person's already established, they already have reviews. If you're just starting out, no reviews, your price is probably going to have to be even lower than theirs. So you might have to chop off a little bit there, or at the very least, like, be competitive with them, because again, they're already established, they already have reviews. People don't like to pick places with no reviews, and that doesn't mean somebody won't pick your place. I'm going to get to that again later, how you can get over that. But in the beginning, yeah, you want to do that research, figure out the numbers, and then look at the numbers and decide, is it worth it to you? Now, if you're doing arbitrage, obviously you have to calculate in the cost of the arbitrage and the cost of the furniture you're going to have to get. There's a lot of costs there that you're going to have to factor in. And again, I can't tell you those numbers. I don't know, because every city's different. If you're looking at this condo and that condo and this furniture and that furniture, the price is going to change so much. But you need to get at least a rough estimate before you even think about doing arbitrage, because arbitrage is risky. I know sometimes like people think it's less risky because like you're not buying a whole house, but it's there's a lot of risk in there, because you're going to get stuck into like a contract, and then if you can't make your Airbnb successful, and what's going to happen is you're stuck in that contract and you're basically paying for a condo you're probably not even using, right? Anyway, so I'm not getting into that. This video is not about arbitrage. Again, it's just about, is Airbnb still worth doing? And again, that question comes from your market research. So the market research that you do is going to answer that question. Is it still worth doing for you? Now, in my city, there's over 1,000 listings. Okay. And that's ridiculous. That's insane. Like, again, there's just like an Airbnb like every 5 feet. And you're probably wondering how can you like start in a market like that where people have been there for already for 10 years and they have so many reviews, they're already established. And the thing you're going to have to do now, and it's like you could literally, you used to be able to list a listing and like no professional photos or anything. You could not really have much. You could have a bed and a table. People would book, okay? But now it's so competitive and people are doing arbitrage and now investors are getting in, which is just disgusting, right? Because Airbnb was meant to be a place of just like your ordinary guy renting out a spare bedroom in his house, and now it's just turned into this like investor arbitrage, just poop hole that it just sucks. Okay, but I'm not gonna get into that right now. This is not a rant. Um, a little bit of a rant, but this is mostly just about how you can break into it if you want to do it, and is it still worth it? Again, answering the question, is it still worth it, is going to depend on your market research that I just told you how to do. So do that, and you can answer, is it going to be worth it for you? Because I don't know your cost. I don't know if you already have a house and you own it. Are you paying a mortgage? Do you want to do arbitrage? The question, is it still worth it, will depend on you. Again, do that. You have to do that market research to estimate what the revenue could be for you, and then see the numbers, see is that worth it. Okay, now if you decide yes, how can you break into it if you have no reviews or anything like that? So you will have to basically offer something that nobody else is offering, or at least very few people in your city are offering. Okay, now this doesn't just come in the form of like what your house has. Like some people have a hot tub, right? And some people look for a hot tub. I don't think it's like a huge thing people like need on Airbnb. I've never booked Airbnb and thought I needed a hot tub. Actually, one time I did. But it was for a ski resort where I knew it was going to be cold, and I just kind of wanted to, take a hot plunge when it's like -3 degrees outside. So if you're in that situation, you're near like a ski resort or something, or area where it's cold, maybe it'd be more favorable. If you're in a hot area, I don't think people would probably rather prefer a pool. But anyways, I'm not just talking about like that stuff. That stuff can help. If you have a grill, you can offer a fireplace, and that stuff can be done very cheap, right? You can get a grill and a fireplace, and then some lights and like a little patio, like make it like a little patio area, fairly cheap, and that can be something that you can offer if you take really good photos of it. That can be something that like people like can see and be like, "Ooh, wow, that's really cool." And one thing I've noticed people doing too is like people actually taking photos of people at the property. So for example, if you do have a little fireplace, maybe you could get your friends or family, or you could just Photoshop it honestly, of like some people there like laughing, smiling, roasting some s'mores at the fireplace, have the good old time, right? And then even if a lot of people like they see this stuff and they think, wow, like we can have like this night. A lot of the times they won't use it. Okay, there's been a lot of times like, we've booked Airbnbs and we saw like, oh, they have a lake and they have boats there. Oh my god, we can go there and like use the lake and the boats. We book the Airbnb, we get there, we're so tired we don't even use it. Okay, so don't get too stressed about like, oh, if I get this, I'm gonna have to like clean it and all this stuff, because a lot of times people see it, it's attractive to them, and they think they're gonna have this like grand old experience and time, and then most of the time they don't even use it. Okay, so that's one small thing that you can do. But another thing that you can do is just change up your strategy in terms of what you allow. Okay, because every host is different and every host allows different things. For example, some people don't allow pets. A lot of Airbnbs do not allow pets. If you allow pets, you've already cut out like half the market. Same thing with children. If you can, on Airbnb, you can exclude children or you can allow them. If you allow them, again, you're cutting off like everybody else. Okay, another thing is occupancy. How many people can you hold? Because a lot of Airbnbs, they don't allow many people. Some Airbnbs, they just want to allow like the least amount of people as possible, obviously to prevent wear and tear on the property. So another thing you could do is like maybe you have a pull-out couch, or maybe you could probably find one very, very cheap on Facebook Marketplace. And if you can find that, now you've offered up a bed that probably can fit 2 more people, and so you've increased how many people you can host by 2. That can make a difference. If there's a group of people out there who's like, let's say there's 7 people, they're gonna kind of have a hard time looking for a place to stay. Okay, so if you can increase your how many people you can host, then that can be another way to also cut out a little bit of the competition. So as you can see, we're doing these various things, okay, such as like adding, like I said, a fireplace or a grill, allowing pets, allowing kids, increasing how many people you can host. These little things add up, okay, to cut out the competition, because that's what you need to do. And again, going back to strategy, okay, pricing is another thing you have to do, but you can only be so competitive with pricing, right? Because here's the thing you're going to learn. You can probably just think, oh, I'll just make my price cheaper than everybody else's. What happens when you do that is you're going to get guests you don't want to get. Okay, you're going to get a lot of local people, and local people. If you've been doing Airbnb for a while, you know local people is not the best people to host, because normally it's like, why is a local person booking, right? When somebody who's traveling books, they have like a valid reason, right, to book the Airbnb, because it's like they're like, oh, I have a conference, or I have a convention that I'm going there. They're normally doing stuff for like work or school. But when somebody locally books, they normally got kicked out of their house, or they got caught cheating, or they were cheated. They're normally just in not a good situation, or they're trying to throw a party. All right. That's normally the case with local people. Now, not all the time. Sometimes you host local people and everything's absolutely fine. But a lot of times there's like kind of a odd reason of why they're needing a place to stay, in their own city. So, anyways, there's nothing you can do about that. You can't reject like local people or anything like that. I'm just saying, when you lower your price so low, you're gonna get you're not gonna get the most favorable guests. Now, maybe that's okay in the beginning if you're just trying to establish your views. Okay, but again, you're risking. I mean, Airbnb does have coverage, so maybe it's not that bad, but you are risking kind of putting your property in more of a stressful situation, and yourself is in a stressful situation, because again, the lower your prices, the worse guests you're gonna get, and that's just how it works. Okay. It's kind of like if you consider a motel versus like a 5-star hotel, which place do you think is going to be safer and have better guests? I'm trying to say that in like a nice way, but I mean, it's just obvious, right? Like, which place are you going to feel safer walking around at night, and which place do you really think has guests that are taking better care of the property itself? It's a pretty obvious answer. Okay, so that's the way that you can think about your Airbnb. You don't want to just like lower your price everybody else. Again, maybe in the beginning, if you just want to establish some reviews and just just get your foot in the door and start hosting, maybe that's fine. But I'm telling you, you won't want to do that long term, because you will run into some trouble. Okay, now as far as like what else that you can do, look, it's your listing. You can offer people a lot of different things, and you can offer people to, if people need like a long-term stay, okay, you can offer them discounts and stuff like that. So that's another thing you can do in terms of your strategy. Some people don't feel comfortable like allowing guests to book like outside of Airbnb. So you could kind of use Airbnb as like a way for you to reach out to people. And then if people inquire about your place, you can tell them, hey, thanks for inquiring. By the way, we are offering this kind of discount to this kind of person who wants to stay for X amount of days. If you're interested, we can kind of come up with an agreement ourselves, one-to-one, to save you a little bit of money, or you can just request the money through Airbnb if you want to be safer. But the point is, depending on your strategy, as what you offer will also cut out a lot of the competition, because a lot of people, they just do straight Airbnb. They won't go outside. They won't do anything else, and they like to just keep everything through Airbnb. And again, this is something that's a little bit more advanced. As you go along, you can figure out, but that's just another thing to do. So these are just like tiny things that you could do to stand out amongst all like the literally thousands now in like every city of Airbnbs out there, because it is rough, it is saturated, and if you're not established, you will have to do these things to stand out and to get some traction. I will tell you right now, it is not as passive as people make it out to be. They make it out to be that you list your place, and then you have somebody stay, and then you hire a cleaner. And here's the other thing. If you're hiring a cleaner, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not making much, okay? Cleaners charge as much as a surgeon does, and that's no joke. Like, if you can call up cleaners in your city right now, if you don't believe me, ask them for, and this is important in your market research, if you plan to get a cleaner, you better know how much they're charging in your city. And I'm telling you, they're charging a lot. They're charging a ridiculous amount, because we've gotten all kinds of quotes, and I think like the average we found was like 75. Some did $200 an hour. Yeah, $200 an hour. So I never knew cleaners had to go to school for 12 years and get a doctorate of cleaning. I had no idea, but apparently they do, because they're charging $200 an hour, as much as a lawyer and a doctor. And so unless you're charging that per night, you're not going to make much. And again, the average we found in our city was like $75 an hour. So we were only charging like $50 a night for a room. So we're losing $25 a night, losing $25 a night if we hire a cleaner. Doesn't make any sense. So most likely, unless you're like hosting a huge house, your profits, you're not going to make much or any with a cleaner. So you're probably going to have to do all the cleaning yourself. And then also you're going to have to do all the messages yourself because, again, it's not worth it to hire out like an assistant or somebody to handle those messages for you. Especially because those messages will be something that's probably you're going to have to intervene. Like if you hired some guy in India to handle your messages, he cannot do anything if like they message you say, hey, the shower's not working, right? Like what's the guy in India going to do? Say like, oh, sorry, and then you get a bad review? No, you're probably going to have to drive there and check it out and fix it, or at least try, right? If you can't, to show them you at least care. So everything's going to be on you, unless you're at the point where you can scale like really, really high. I mean, we have 9 listings and we're not at that point where we can hire out because it would eat so much in the profit margins. It would not even be worth it because, again, it's not that passive. There is a lot of work that needs to be done day in and day out, especially in today's market. Like I said, you have to be much, much, much more active with it now as before because you are constantly competing. So you have to constantly be improving, constantly be changing up your strategies, constantly evaluating the market and seeing what other hosts are doing and pricing and what's their occupancy rates to see how you need to change your strategy. So it's very it's very active, it's very intense now, and that's something that you also want to consider if you are thinking about going into this. So that's all the information I have for now for this video because it's getting kind of long. I hope you found value from this, and if you did, please leave a like and a comment, and maybe think about subscribing because I have a lot more content on the way. Now, if you have any specific questions about Airbnb, I've been doing this for about 4 years now, 9 listings in, hundreds of people hosted. So if you guys have any questions at all, just drop a comment and I'll make a video on it. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful day.